No one invited you. Those 5 words were the last thing I expected to hear from my wife on her birthday night. I stood there in the middle of the crowded restaurant, holding the gift I had spent weeks searching for, while everyone around us suddenly became silent.
My wife, Jessica, looked at me with a cold smile and repeated, "I said no one invited you."
This is my night. For a moment, I thought she was joking. I waited for her to laugh and tell everyone it was just a prank. But she didn't. She turned away like I was a stranger. So I placed the gift on the table, looked at her one last time, and walked out without saying a single word. I expected to go home alone that night. But a few minutes later, someone opened the restaurant door behind me. It was Jessica's best friend, Samantha. And what she told me would reveal a secret my wife had been hiding for months. My name is Michael, and before that night, I believed Jessica and I had one of those marriages people admired. We had been together for 8 years and married for 5. I always tried to make her feel special, especially on important occasions. Her birthday was never just another day to me. Every year, I planned surprises, wrote her meaningful letters, and made sure she knew how much she meant to me. This year was supposed to be different because I had arranged something unforgettable. I secretly contacted some of her closest friends, reserved a beautiful private area at a restaurant, and bought a gift I knew she had wanted for a long time. But during the weeks before her birthday, Jessica started acting differently. She seemed distracted, spent more time away from home, and became strangely annoyed whenever I asked about her plans. I thought she was just stressed. I never imagined she was preparing a surprise of her own, one that would completely break my trust. On the night of Jessica's birthday, I arrived at the restaurant expecting to see her smile when she saw me. Instead, I saw something I never expected. She was surrounded by friends, laughing and celebrating, but when she noticed me walking in, her expression changed. It wasn't happiness. It was frustration. I walked toward the table and said, "Happy birthday, Jessica." I handed her the gift and smiled, hoping she would appreciate the effort. But she looked at the gift, then looked at me, and said quietly, "Michael, what are you doing here?" I laughed nervously and replied, "It's your birthday. I wanted to celebrate with you." That's when she leaned closer and said those words that froze me. "No one invited you." I looked around at everyone, hoping someone would explain that this was a misunderstanding. Nobody said anything. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. In that moment, I realized I wasn't part of the celebration. I was someone she wanted removed from it. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I didn't create a scene in front of everyone. I simply placed the gift bag on the empty chair beside her and said, "I hope you have a good birthday." Then I turned around and walked away. Behind me, I could hear the sound of conversation starting again, but nobody stopped me. Not even my wife. As I walked through the parking lot, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and disappointment. I wasn't angry because I wasn't invited to a party. I was hurt because the person I loved had humiliated me in front of people who knew how much I cared about her. I reached my car and sat there for a few minutes, trying to understand what had just happened. Then suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw Samantha, Jessica's closest friend, standing there with a worried expression. She looked like she had something important to say. She took a deep breath and said, "Michael, you need to know the truth about why Jessica didn't want you there tonight." Samantha looked nervous as she stood beside my car. For a few seconds, she didn't say anything, almost like she was trying to find the right words. Then she finally said, "Michael, I've wanted to tell you this for weeks, but I didn't know how." My heart immediately sank. I asked her what she meant. She explained that Jessica's behavior had changed long before the birthday party. She told me that Jessica had been complaining about our marriage to her friends, but not because of anything I had done. According to Samantha, Jessica had been telling people that she felt too comfortable in our relationship and wanted excitement in her life again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Samantha then revealed that Jessica had intentionally planned the birthday dinner without me because she wanted to prove she could have a perfect night without her husband. She said Jessica had even joked that I would probably still show up because I was too predictable. Hearing those words hurt more than the insult at the party. I wasn't just excluded from a celebration. I was being treated like I didn't matter. I stood there in silence, trying to process everything Samantha had told me. The woman I had spent years loving had apparently been creating a version of our marriage where I was the problem. Samantha continued explaining that she disagreed with Jessica's choices but didn't know how to confront her. She said she watched me constantly put effort into the relationship while Jessica slowly stopped appreciating it. She remembered how I planned surprises, supported Jessica's dreams, and always showed up when she needed me. "Michael," Samantha said, "the worst part is that Jessica knows exactly how much you love her. She just started taking it for granted." Those words stayed with me. Because deep down, I already knew something had changed. I had just refused to accept it. I thanked Samantha for telling me the truth and drove home that night feeling completely different. I wasn't the same person who walked into that restaurant carrying a birthday gift. That person still believed love could fix anything. The person driving home finally understood that love without respect can slowly destroy someone. The next morning, Jessica came home expecting everything to return to normal. She walked through the door and casually asked why I had left so early. She acted like nothing serious had happened. I looked at her and asked, "Do you really want to know why I left?" Her expression changed slightly. I told her that Samantha had told me everything. For the first time, Jessica looked uncomfortable. She tried explaining that she was just frustrated, that she didn't mean to hurt me, and that the birthday party had gotten out of control. But I stopped her and said, "The problem isn't one sentence you said. The problem is that you planned a moment where the person who loves you most was made to feel unwanted." Jessica started crying and apologized, saying she made a mistake. I believe she was sorry, but I also knew apologies could not instantly erase humiliation and disappointment. I told her that a marriage isn't about never making mistakes. It's about whether someone values you enough to admit them before it's too late. Months later, I still think about that birthday party. Not because it was the night my marriage ended, but because it was the night I finally stopped ignoring reality. Jessica and I had many difficult conversations after that. We tried counseling and worked through the reasons we had grown apart. Some days were easier than others. Some wounds took longer to heal than expected. But one thing became clear. A relationship cannot survive when one person constantly gives while the other person assumes they will always stay. I learned that being loyal doesn't mean accepting disrespect. Loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself to keep them happy. That night, when Jessica said, "No one invited you," she thought she was removing me from a party. She didn't realize she was forcing me to see the truth about our relationship. Sometimes the most painful moments become the moments that wake us up. And sometimes walking away quietly is the strongest message you can send. Because everyone deserves to be with someone who chooses them, not someone who only remembers their value after they leave.